Okay, well, I'm Mara Gregory. I'm the head productivity coach for the Experience Brokerage Network, and I've been with Keller Williams since 2013. I've been a productivity coach since 2017, and part of the ALC. My 8th year on the ALC. I took last year off when I had a baby and knew I was gonna I was president of Springfield Realtors last year, so that was a really, really heavy lift as far as volunteer activity. So stepped away and then stepped back on it. I've been on the regional ALC for a few years and on the international ALC for 2 years, which was awesome as well. And my passions are just helping in our community and within the real estate community and outside of that too. I'm on the board for Next Step Recycling, a Family for Every Child, Oregon Networking Exchange, and then I foster dogs with two different local rescues as well. So definitely volunteer. Today we are going to have a little bit, it's probably be a little bit of a shorter class, just as you can probably see from your material. It's not super long today, but it's still very, very important information. So we're going to go through it. Love when I get questions, so don't hesitate to interrupt me, ask questions, throw scenarios out, anything like that. I'll go ahead and share my PowerPoint with you. Um, put in slideshow. Okay, can you guys see everything okay?
Mhm.
Perfect. So this is what they consider like the third segment of this Ignite round. So we've gone through some of real estate expert, which is a lot of building your business and your big why and all that. Then you guys did the different lead generation techniques. And then now we're entering that lead follow-up. And a lot of the times you'll hear follow-up is where the money is. And so that's a lot of what we'll talk about today. Um, so just quickly, what is a lead? Um, is on your first page. Sorry, I'm switching between Ignite or instructor one and the student one. So a lead would be someone who has shown interest in the services you offer and with whom you may have a one-way conversation. Kind of like we heard about, sometimes you're sitting there putting out information and they're not really engaging with you at a high level yet. So you'll want to think of the leads you enter into your database as your possible business, and then lead follow-up helps with the leads from possible business into probable business, with the end goal of being profitable business. So, next slide. Yeah, that just shows. So, a lot of the times with leads, we're also wanting to kind of understand, and you guys may have heard me talk about this before, but where they are in that life cycle. So on average, people move every about 7 to 10 years. For a little bit, it almost felt like people were doing shorter than that because we were having such a strong market that we did see people moving quicker. But I think as things normalize, we'll probably see more of that 7 to 10 years. So if you are thinking of those leads, knowing how long have they lived in their current situation or in their current property, what's kind of their timeline. A lot of the times too, we will see if people are getting married or having kids or having big life changes. People are having a kid graduate, right as you're looking through your feed right now, there's a ton of graduations happening. Sometimes people will choose to make a move after their kid graduates. So you want to look for those kind of life cycles that people go through. And so that way you're increasing your communication with them around those two. Uh, any questions about that so far? So now we're going to kind of talk about the 19 to Connect. We talk a lot about if they are someone that you are in relationship with already, right? Coworkers, friends, family, past clients, anything like that. Those are people we have met. Now, your 19 to connect is more geared towards people that are new leads to you that you're building that relationship with. It'll also apply to like if you do start farming or door knocking or anything like that, those are people that don't already have a relationship with you. So, we're on page 10.4. The fortune is a follow-up mindshare. Mindshare is gained through positioning yourself in front of your leads frequently with relevant and timely information. The goal is to open the door to two-way communication in addition to getting them to think about you anytime they think about real estate. And so it gives you some examples of the 19 touches that you would do for that group of people throughout the year. And say you're doing open houses, for an example, and then you're building out these 19 touches, you want it to be pretty fluid to where you can pop someone in at any time throughout the year and they're still going to get 19 touches because you're going to already have these scheduled out and planned. So 4 touches might be phone calls where you're making quarterly phone calls to that group of people. 12 touches could be a monthly email or newsletter, market report, video. Obviously, if there's someone where you don't have their email, then you might be looking up and doing snail mail once a month. Anything that you're going to send to them, like typically, for example, if you're going to farm a neighborhood or a demographic. So an example of that would be you could pick a neighborhood, but then say, I only want to farm to people that have lived there for at least 7 years. So they might be getting closer to that cusp of time where they'd move. Then you might send them a monthly newsletter or some sort of touch once a month to just those people, and you would do snail mail if you don't have their email. Although there's more and more systems like Forewarn and stuff like that where you can find phone numbers and more contact information, or you can find them on social media. So you can try those avenues, but mail is pretty easy if you know their address. And then 2 touches might be promotional direct mail. So if you are like examples of that would be like sometimes people do football magnets around football season, or they do little calendars towards the beginning of the year, little recipe calendars, different stuff like that would be like something a little bit larger. And then 1 touch would be an annual event, party, movie screening, or get together. So examples of that, if you are, I'm just going to use farming as an example, or like door knocking. If you're picking one specific area that you're doing that in, you might do like host a neighborhood garage sale or a neighborhood canned food drive or something like that. You could do like an Easter egg hunt that you're hosting at one of like a park in that neighborhood, anything like that where it's like a little bit more impactful and you're inviting them. I did like just around my neighborhood, since I give pies away every year, I like sent postcards to my 100 neighbors saying like, hey, you can come get a pie if you would like. So different things like that you can incorporate into it. It used to be farming used to just be 12 pieces of mail throughout the year and that was it. And what the studies have shown is that that's not quite enough to get you there. So you want to have a little bit more of a higher touch. If you are applying this to open houses, one of your things is going to be like you want that touch to be pretty immediate. So that might be like your immediate phone call, that first phone call, or text message saying like, hey, thank you for coming. Is there anything I can do to follow up with you? But you don't want to like space it out too far. And you can mix these up too. So you could do different, like if you are farming, for example, door knocking might be part of those 19 touches. And so you might door knock 3 times, or maybe door knock for 4 times. You door knock them quarterly because you don't have their phone numbers. So you can apply these in different ways depending on what that activity you're doing is. or hosting open houses in that neighborhood, and then door knocking to invite them. Any questions about that 19 to connect? Okay, so let's go to the page in your workbook that says lead follow-up best practices. So read each set of considerations and write down your response for each in the space below. What are my strengths when working with people? How can I adapt the touches of 19 to connect to represent me? So I heard some of you talk about how here's this to give examples, how some of you are more face to face and you enjoy that. So how would you take the 19 touch and make it more representative of your strengths so that you're willing to commit to it? What are some reasons I might have for contacting the lead? What are some touches to do before and after a phone call? The questions are on the screen now as well. When is it best for me and my business to time block for lead generation? So making sure you're getting that lead generation done. And then how much time should it take to reach out to a lead? What will I do to hold myself accountable? And what do I need to do to make sure it happens? Sometimes setting up like little rewards for yourself is helpful too, because just like starting the activity can be difficult. And then once you get it going, it's easy or it's not going to actually harm you. So sometimes if you're like, okay, I want to make 5 contacts a day or 10 contacts a day, and then I need to do 20 minutes of lead follow up, because these really should be separate activities in your calendar. Lead generation, right? We're out there making contacts, we're looking for leads, or we're doing the open house, we're doing the door knocking. But then our lead follow up also needs to be time blocked accordingly so that we actually have time to do the follow up activities. So, an example of that might be someone asks you for a CMA. Well, doing the CMA and sending that out as an additional touch to them is that lead follow up, and then calling to check in with them. So, you need time for both in your calendar. Otherwise, you're doing a bunch of lead generation, but your money is not actually showing up if your lead follow-up's not in place. Anyone want to share anything that they wrote down or that came to them in any of these questions or their plans?
I think it's good. Thank you.
So I met with Tycor today and talked about how to get those farming and how to get out. And then I'm working in figuring out how to make my postcards on command. And so I'm still in the learning phase, but I've got plans on how to
Awesome.
move forward in areas. I live in an area that was built about 7 years ago. So I feel like that's a good time frame to start
Yeah,
seeing flipping. So
yeah, that's great. You're right in that sweet spot. And you might have a couple different 19 touches you do, right? You might have one for kind of like your farming area, or one that you do after open houses, or maybe there's one that you do for your specific neighborhood. You might have a couple different, you don't want to overwhelm yourself, don't have like 10 different ones going on, but you might have a couple different ones. So there is a worksheet on the following page that goes over like, okay, plan and create what is your 19 to connect plan. Do you have that 12 pieces of mail you're going to send out? Are you going to do a couple open houses there? I went to one class with Gene Rivers and he talked about an agent that was highly successful. They lived near a school, and so they would go get a few boxes of donuts and stand on the corner, and then as people were coming like to school that morning, they would like hand out donuts and invite them to their canned food drive that they were doing, or just whatever information they wanted to give out at that time. But it really helped people engage with them if they had, take Krispy Kreme donuts or whatever, and we're handing those out. So engaging in conversation with people, but it can be fun. Okay, so you can kind of sketch out what yours is going to look like. Your page should look like this. And here's an example on the screen as well. Fun little stat for you. The NAR collected research, and 73% of buyers only talked to one agent, and 82% of sellers only contacted one agent. So a lot of the times I think we feel like we're competing against a lot of people out there. However, statistically, usually it's like maybe one other person, but majority of the time, 73 and 82% of the time, that's really about that first person that makes contact, or that first person that establishes the relationship with them, offers them some value. With open houses, I always say, like, yes, some people might come in that have other agents, or you might only get like 3 or 4 people that come through. But if you could get one person that was unrepresented and you're that first person of contact, then hey, you've got a 73 to 82% chance of being their agent if you just follow up with them and build that relationship. Now that you guys have also been in the business a little bit, you have experience like lenders and title companies and other people in the industry trying to build relationships with you. What are some of the most impactful touches that you guys have received or that you've seen be done?
I almost want to say like having phone calls.
Yeah. So actually picking up the phone and calling you and introducing themselves, kind of telling you what they do.
Yeah.
I have some rental properties and I like the agent that I've used for those sends out a what's happening during the month. And so you can see I just, it's a constant reminder for me because it's a curiosity thing to see what's selling and for how much. And I can compare mine to others in the neighborhood. And then it's just a constant feel of connection to him. So,
Yeah, I love that. What were you gonna say, Georgia?
Oh, I was just gonna say that some lenders and like title companies have reached out and just taken me to coffee, and then we just sit and chat about like what we do and stuff like that. And that's been really good, like to build the relationship between
Yeah,
us.
a little
Like,
bit more personal time. Yeah, there's definitely several agents that will say like if they feel like a lull in their business or just naturally on their calendar, they make sure they have like X amount of lunches with people or coffees with people or whatever it is so that they are building those relationships. So if you're looking at your database, you might not be doing that with everyone, but you might pick like your top 20 people that you feel like are your biggest cheerleaders or most likely to utilize you or refer to you, and you might schedule, lunch or coffee with them either quarterly or twice a year or whatever it is. So you're getting some of that face time because life gets busy. So part of that's, yeah, value proposition. So like you're adding some value to someone, you're making it personal, and then you're giving some piece of information too when you're doing these touches, whether it's newsletter, phone calls, anything like that. You want to kind of build these three aspects into those touches. So if you were doing a newsletter, for instance, like maybe that part of that value is like, hey, what community events are going on near them or happening in the area? And then you might write a little blurb of something that's a little bit more personal about you or your business or what's happening in life right then or the world. And then statistics, so something about the real estate market. So these houses sold for this, or like this is what our inventory is right now, or this is what interest rates are doing, or have you heard about this new loan program, anything like that. So potential lead sources. This is this next page. So communication with value. Write down your current lead source in the first column. So that might be like your sphere of influence, open houses, door knocking, anything like that. And then record your top lead sources the left-hand side of the table. Then write down then write statements or questions you might use when communicating with that lead source. So if someone's like calling you on a sign, is their example here, or incoming call? Why are you thinking about buying and selling? Tell me more. What will that do for you and your family? So another example, you might say open house, and then like what questions or statements are you communicating with them when they're coming into that open house or during that open house that is getting more information for you to build that relationship or get their contact information. Anyone want to share any ideas, or is there a lead source that's stumping you as far as what you would ask or say?
I almost feel like you'd be asking similar questions for most lead sources. Am I correct there? Because I'm trying to come up with new statements or questions to ask, but I keep coming back to the same ones for everything.
Yep, it's going to be very similar to a lot of them because you're wanting to find their motivation, their timeline, like what their desires are, what they're looking for, and how you can serve them. So those are going to be
Yes.
a lot of the same questions.
Okay.
Any ahas you guys want to share around lead follow-up we've gone over so far?
I would basically say I like the idea of saying, I'm not going to do it all at once. I need to pick the things that make the most sense to me. And then just like someone was saying, they door knocked and it was scary, but she did it. And, just doing those steps, because you can get a lot of no's before you get a yes. And that's okay.
Yep,
They're not all
exactly.
going to say yes.
It's a lot of consistency. Okay, so then they go over post-lead follow-up. So when two-way communication is established, lead becomes a contact in your database. And then you go through that 19 to connect and move them over to the 36. So for example, if you were doing door knocking, you've built a relationship, you've engaged with them, you're going to move them into your 36 touch from your 19 to connect. And then you want to cement that relationship. So that high value touch that solidifies the relationship you have just established and opens the door for future interactions. So that'd be a high value touch. Examples of that could be taking them out to a lunch or a coffee or happy hour or anything like that, doing a client event that you're inviting them to, sitting down for a consultation, or giving them doing a walkthrough at their house and telling them what to do to get the house ready, like anything that's really solidifying that relationship for you. And it asks you on the post lead follow-up page, what are some options you could offer as your one to submit? What are other agents using and finding successful? And then it should include, tell them about the service you provide, help set up a conversation for later, serve as a reminder of their interaction, and tell them how to refer business to you. So you want all of those things included in that one to submit. I will say personally, I do more client events than some people because I do find that as an easy interaction. Instead of just calling quarterly and updating them about what the market is, I call quarterly and invite them to something typically. And so part of that invite usually is about asking for referrals, and that can come across in different ways. So an example, I talked about, I do pies around Thanksgiving. And with that, we say, like, hey, if you whip us up a referral, we'll include a can of whipped cream. So we have that thought of like, hey, I'd love referrals. And you get something for it, but I'm not like directly asking at that moment, like, hey, who do you know that I can call? So we're doing it in a softer way, but it's still like building that touch in their brain. So if you find something like that with every event that you do, or bringing up in conversation, like, hey, if you know anyone that I can help, I'd love to. Those kind of teach them to start thinking about that.
So you can offer something. I didn't think we could do that. Like you said, offer a can of whipped cream with the pie.
Yep.
You can offer something for the referral.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, you can kind of gamify it like that. You can't like pay someone for it, but you can make a
pay
game
them
out of
in food.
Yep. Yeah, like I
It's
did a
just such a
barbecue.
fine line.
It is. I did a barbecue once and it was like, hey, if you flip us a referral, we'll give you a little like barbecue set. And we found them for like $10. And some of it, people won't do it right at that time. But then it's built that question into their mind. So then now you're top of mind, you're doing their mind share with them, and over the next week they might, or 2 weeks even, might come up with something that someone that they know. Or reach out to you themselves. Perfect. Okay, did that one. So now you have your ahas page. I'll turn to the last page in your workbook. Well, I think it's second to last. A couple more because you have your conversation sheet and all that, but it's the last workbook page. And answer those questions. How has your thinking changed? What ideas or mindsets are new? What do you feel differently about? What was meaningful to you today? How will your behaviors be different going forward? And what actions will you take? And then what tool systems will you use, and how will it make you accountable? Your faces are blocking half that. It's pretty weird. Told you today would be kind of short and sweet. I did that. Some of you may or may not know, but Ignite changed. So it used to be that there was like 12 3-hour classes. And then they changed it to these 20 shorter classes. So what we did today is like a snippet of what was a longer class at one point. Makes them a little short and sweet, easier to digest pieces though. And leaves more time in your day to finish your lead generation if you haven't made your contacts. Any last questions or anything?
Is it normal for, like, my workbook looks different than your workbook but has similar information? Or is it possible I just have a different version?
Do you have the binder like Sarah held up?
You emailed it to me, so I've just always thought maybe they updated it since this one, but my pages are always different than what is shown, but a lot of the information's there.
Huh, I'll have to look and see if they changed it. We order them directly from their website, so I would think that they are the same as what they have posted on their website too. But I'll have to look.
Okay, no worries. I write down stuff that looks different just so that I know.
Yeah, perfect. Any other questions? Perfect. Well, you guys have a great day then.
Thank you, Mara.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.